following the news in recent months, we've heard a lot about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, the founder of it. Julian Assange decided to publish online classified documents that he obtained from a private in the Army. He's cloaking himself under freedom of speech, basically saying that, the First Amendment says that he can publish those. Is that the case? Is it not? Isn't that what the First Amendment says? That we are guaranteed freedom of speech, no matter whether we like it or not? Or is it a matter of national security? Moreover, if I decide to go, fire! And everyone stampeded to the door, and someone got hurt, aren't I allowed to do that as well? The answers are not as easy as you think. Today, my presentation is about censorship, what it is and what it is not, and how it relates to our lives. Who decides what's objectionable? Who decides what we can say and what we can't say? Well, actually, the government does. If you think that censorship is this, where someone forces you not to speak here or say what's on your mind, you're basically right. The First Amendment, however, says something different. According to Brianna Coleman, censorship is defined as the suppression of published or broadcast material, the suppression of all or part of a play, movie, letter, or publication considered offensive or a threat to security, or the suppression of something objectionable, the suppression or attempted suppression of something regarded as objectionable. Well, that's a lot of words. But what does it really mean? The First Amendment actually says this: it is considered legal to express any type of speech so long as one does not engage in acts being described, i.e. hate or racist actions, or urge others to commit illegal acts. It is also a criminal offense to knowingly or willingly advocate, abet, advise, or teach the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing the government of the United States, or of any state by force or violence, or for anyone to organize any association which teaches, advises, or encourages such an overthrow, or for anyone to become a member or to affiliate with any such association. That's exactly what the First Amendment says. But again, what does that mean? What does it come down to for us? I questioned quite a few people when I decided to do this topic, at work especially, because I work in a Greene County Public Library. And their answers were varied. They thought that censorship meant that we cannot say what we want. And that's basically true, and that's completely against the First Amendment. You can say what you want. You really can. You can perform acts that might be objectionable to people if you want. But if you commit an act, a criminal act, in doing so, you can be arrested. It all comes down to two simple words, two very, very important words: prior restraint. Prior restraint would be like us being puppets on a string. It would be like the government saying to us, the word flower. No one can use this word. If you use this word, you will be arrested. That would be like being a puppet on a string. Or you can't have this demonstration because it has the word flower in it. Prior restraint simply means that the government prior cannot tell you what you can say. That's what freedom of speech is. When you look at WikiLeaks, he's not in trouble for publishing it per se, although it's kind of a gray area because it was national security. He is, however, going to jail. And he's going to jail because he committed illegal acts obtaining the documents. That's something totally different. If it came down to the U.S. Supreme Court, they would side on it. As a matter of fact, the U.S. Supreme Court has never sided against the First Amendment. So that's what freedom of speech is. It has to be prior restraint by a government entity. That's what censorship is considered by the First Amendment. Like I said before, I work at a Greene County Public Library, and I work with a lot of different people, and part of many people's jobs are to select books. I work with a young lady her name is Kay Webster, and she's the Youth Services Coordinator for the Greene County Library. And I asked her a simple question. I said, Kay, do you feel like you're censored in this job? And she was kind of struck, taken aback. And she stated this: no, I don't. I'm a professional. I choose books for age-appropriate people, which in my line are for children. She also said the selection process is much more trickier than choosing materials for adults. What I select and order for use has to be age-specific. Kay stated at times, I've had a parent question why I ordered a particular item and they considered it offensive and wanted me to ban it. I take their objections very seriously, but one parent's issue of inappropriate reading material for their child may be totally different for another parent. If I took off the shelves every book someone might not like for them, that is what censorship means to me. It's simply imposing someone else's will on another person. So censorship is not a professional selecting material that they feel is appropriate according to their job. Censorship really is the government restraining that professional not to select a type of material. The government in the First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech, even if it means someone might say something repugnant, something that's totally out of line, something that you just cannot believe it can actually occur. In a USA Today article dated July 2010, Jed Kirschenbaum reported on a soldier's funeral in Finksburg, Missouri. The funeral was disrupted by a church. They chose the funeral to demonstrate their beliefs that this military death was indicative of, quote, God's punishment for the tolerance of homosexuality. They also said, protesters carrying placards said, you're going to hell, not blessed, just cursed, God hates fags, among others. A lawyer for the church stated that the First Amendment, constitutional protection of political speech, gave them the right to protest at the funeral, as the funeral was not interrupted. Now, do I consider this type of demonstration offensive? Absolutely. Do I think that they were totally out of line and they picked this poor soldier's death and the emotions that went with it to base their cause or broaden their cause? Yeah, they did that and it was wrong. But was it against the law? No, it's not. Because one of the rules is that they had to be a certain feet away from the funeral. They were allowed to do this because freedom of speech allows us to do that. So even though it was totally inappropriate, they can't be arrested for it. Now, I said the example of yelling fire. Okay, that's an old adage and it's been used a lot, but actually, I could say it. I could say it right now. I could go out and scream it right now. And I can't be arrested for that. But if I caused someone's death, if I incited a panic after the fact, I could be arrested for that. And that's the difference. As you can see, the true definition of censorship, what it is not, And what the First Amendment really says about it is not as simple as one may think. I've told you about what censorship is and how it relates to the First Amendment and to our lives. Our government cannot say we can't speak our minds. We can. We're very fortunate in this country to do so. But it can punish us if in so doing we commit a crime. I hope I've enlightened you and encouraged you. I hope I've persuaded you to look it up, because the Founding Fathers made this part of our Constitution for us. I like to use these concluding remarks from JFK, the 35th President of the United States. He stated, "We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. For a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is not afraid of its people." Do you have any questions? Thank you.